So I've come upstairs at the Roald Dahl Museum and Story Centre into what's called the Strong Room. This is the nerve centre of Roald Dahl's life, precisely chilled to 18 degrees centigrade, and it's just shelves filled with boxes. And inside these boxes are the Roald Dahl archives, and I'm joined by Jane Branfield, who looks after them all. Jane, what have we got here?
Well, everything we've got here in the strong room is what Roald Dahl himself kept during his lifetime in his writing hut here in Great Missenden. It's like an entire publishing history. So you've got the first draft manuscript, first draft typescript, second draft manuscript, and discarded chapters and reworked pages and setting copies and galley proofs. And you can see how dramatically different some of the early drafts were from what was finally published. Then we've also got all his unpublished material, which was never published during his lifetime.
So these are stories that have never
been published.
My eyes have been drawn to this one here, box 44, RD 2/27/6-12. Matilda. What's in there?
Yeah, so that's the second half of our manuscript holdings on Matilda. I'll take out actually the one before that because that's got the first draft in, so it'll be more interesting than the setting copies. Should we come over here?
So inside the grey box are even more grey paper folders bound with string.
Now, as you can see, it really is totally true that he always wrote on this yellow lined paper in pencil. So here you are, you see it says first draft, summer 1986, and the first draft was called The Miracle Child, and it's titled Wickedness. You can see, what's this, paragraph 2. Wicked children are happiest when they are making somebody else miserable. To them, being wicked is a pleasure. There is no doubt that Matilda was one of these. She was born wicked and she stayed wicked. No matter how hard her parents tried to make her good, she was just about the most wicked child in the world. And that's not Matilda, is it?
That's not Matilda at all.
I mean, some of the others change too. One of my favourites is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
So that's Matilda back on the shelf. Let's have a look at another very popular story, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Jane, what have we got here?
Aha. Now, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was obviously one of his early books, and it was the second after James. But we don't actually have a first draft for this novel. You see, this is item 1, but you can tell straight off that it is a second draft because it's not all manuscript.
And we see on the first page there, it wasn't called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it was called Charlie's Chocolate Boy.
Yes, because the plot was completely different. It was more of a mystery story where Charlie fell into a chocolate vat and came out, covered in chocolate, hidden inside the mould, and was delivered to Willy Wonka's house as a present for his son. And Charlie's stuck inside this chocolate mould, that's why he's a chocolate boy. And then when he's from within it, he witnesses a burglary at Willy Wonka's house. But of course, he's seen it all, so he can solve it. When he solves the crime, Wonka rewards him by giving him his own sweet shop.
So what have we got here?
This is the final typescript of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And it was just about to be sent off to be typeset. And as you can see here, look on this chapter, Roald Dahl has gone through and crossed out every occasion that the Whipple Scrumpets appear and written above it Oompa Loompa. And when you sort of think how famous the Oompa Loompas are, they were nearly called Whipple Scrumpets.
So right up to the wire, the Oompa Loompas didn't exist, they were Whipple Scrumpets.
Yes, that's right. Apparently, when Roald Dahl showed the very first draft of Charlie to his nephew, and asked him what he thought of it, and he said, I think it stinks, Uncle Roald. So I always wonder if that's why we don't actually have a first draft. It's the second draft that we have.
So we've come into Jane's office now, just next to the strong room, and Jane, tell us what we're looking at.
Well, we're going to be looking at some of the manuscript material for James and the Giant Peach. And here we have one of Roald Dahl's ideas books. And this one contains the original idea for James and the Giant Peach. The Cherry That Wouldn't Stop Growing, a fairy story. So as you can see, it was originally going to be a cherry. Then it became a peach.
So the characters we read about in the book are the ladybird, the glowworm, the old green grasshopper, and my favourite, the centipede. But were there other characters in the original versions as well?
Well, yes, originally there was going to be a hairy green caterpillar and an earwig. He wasn't originally going to have a grasshopper, spider, or the glowworm that appear in the published book.
So how much did James and the Giant Peach change as the story evolved?
Well, one of the major ways it changed was in how James acquired the means to grow the peach. In the book, he meets the old man and he gets this bag of green wiggly things that eventually grow into the peach. In the first draft, this whole incident's played up an awful lot more, and the old man actually wants James's legs in exchange for the seeds. You can see here in the original manuscript, he says about James's legs, "Don't they make me look handsome?" the man cackled. "They fit me perfectly, don't you agree? But then so will your legs." Oh, so he's talking about something that he's got some hands from somebody else. He says, well, every time he gives somebody something, he always wants a present in exchange. And in order for James to have the bag of wriggly things, he's going to want James's legs.
So, from your perspective as the archivist, what is it about James and the Giant Peach that makes it such an important piece of Dahl's work?
Well, first of all, it's because it's his first children's novel. So it marks that transition from being a successful adult short story writer to a whole new career as a children's author. And also the elements of the characterisation and the way James is formed, it's sort of, you can see how those themes, which are so well known as hallmarks of Roald Dahl, they're there in James and they get amplified throughout his later works. I mean, James as being an orphaned hero, when his parents have been eaten by rhinoceroses, and he's got an unorthodox family set up where really, the creatures inside the peach are his family, and then you've got the elements of the grotesque in those ghastly aunts, which are all features that will appear in Roald's later works too. That's sort of a sense of pitting the small child hero or heroine against the world of adults. And that was something that Dahl prided himself on, the fact that he had access to the way children think. He could still remember what it was like to be a child, and he identified very strongly with that, even though he was grown up.